My dear students, at the very outset of this video presentation, I want to announce that today's assignment is a poem and the name of the poem is Fire and Ice. To be precise, in this video presentation, I am going to discuss about the poem entitled Fire and Ice, and the discussion will be in detail. Now, my dear students, I welcome you all to my educational channel. The name of my educational channel is Priyankar Dotto. Here you will find video presentations on English language and literature of school level, college level, as well as of competitive examinations. Now, we shall move to the next page to look at the poem itself. Now, before moving to the text of the poem, we shall focus on the title of the poem. Now, if we look at the title of the poem, we shall see that there are two key words in the title. The words are fire and ice. Both fire and ice are natural elements. Side by side, you have to keep in mind that ice is also an element which is man-made. Now, we all know about the meanings of the words fire and ice. Naturally, we become curious to know what the poet has to say about these very obvious things or elements. Now, this curiosity leads us to go through the poem. Now, as the subheading suggests, there are two stanzas in the poem. First of all, we shall focus on the first stanza. Look, the poem begins in this way. Some people say the world will end in fire. The poet says that some persons, some human beings, are of the opinion that the world will be destroyed by fire. Now, the first thing which we should keep in mind that by the word world, the poet refers to the human beings living in the world. So, if we explain the first line in this way, it will mean that according to some human beings, the human beings living in the world will be extinct when there will be some kind of incident related to fire. Now, the word fire strikes us. Will there be an incident where we will witness the breaking out of a fire? We know that fire is a great destructive force. But to think that fire can be that much powerful that it will kill all the human beings of the world is some kind of an exaggeration. So, we are sure to think that the poet has certainly used the word fire as a symbol. Now, for knowing the symbolic meaning of the word fire, we shall keep our patience till we come across to that line where the poet himself tells about the symbolic meaning of the word fire. So, Now we shall move to the second line of the stanza. The poet says, some say in ice. If we try to create a parallel between the first two lines of the stanza, we shall have to expand the second line and read it in the same kind of grammatical construction as the first line. Then the second line may be read as, some people say the world will end in ice. So, through the second line, the poet wants to mean that according to some human beings, ice will be the cause of the death or extinction of all the human beings of the world. Now, from our experience of reading the first line of the poem, we can easily guess that the word ice has been used here symbolically. However, we shall move to the symbolic implication of fire and ice later on. Now, we shall rewind, or rather sum up what the poet has to say, or rather the poet has said in the first two lines of the poem. So, in the first two lines of the poem, the poet has said that human beings are of divided opinion as to the cause of the extinction of human beings. Now, the causes are fire and ice. As I have told you, both the words have been used here in the symbolic sense. Now, we become curious to know what is the viewpoint of the poet. Does he think that the world will end in fire, or does he think that the world will end in ice? So, we shall move to the third line. The poet says that from what I have tasted of desire, that is, the poet says that he has tasted means experienced. What has he experienced? The pull or tug which desire creates in human beings. This desire is for material possessions. Now, the objects which count for this material possession are fame, fortune, etc. So the poet says that as a human being of flesh and blood, he has felt the desire, the wish to possess material objects. So he has himself experienced it. So on the basis of his own experience, he tells that I hold with those who favor fire. The poet uses the verb hold with, means support. The poet supports those human beings who favor, that is, who think that fire is the cause, or rather fire will be the cause of the end of the world. So the poet sides with, the poet supports the first group of people who think that desire for material objects will cause the extinction of human beings. So we are at a point where we have got the symbolic meaning of the word fire. The word fire, as you have got in the poem itself, stands for desire. You must expand the word desire and write desire for material objects. Now we have understood the lion's share of the inner meaning embedded in the first stanza of the poem. Now there is another question which is yet to be explored, answered. What is the question? How will desire, or rather the desire for material objects, cause the extinction of human beings? Now this is the question which we will have to understand. If we think deeply over the matter, we can understand that the desire for possessing material objects like fame and fortune will create a kind of competition as well as contest among human beings. This competition and contest will degenerate to fighting, and this fighting will cause the death of human beings, since it is quite probable that the lion's share of human beings existing on the earth will be killed. It will mean the end of the world, not in the literal sense, but in the metaphorical sense. So we have understood how fire, which stands for desire for material objects, will cause the end of the world. Now we are yet to know how will ice, the symbolic meaning of which we are yet to know, will cause the destruction of the world. So for knowing the symbolic meaning of the word ice and how it will cause the destruction of the world, we shall move to the second stanza, which incidentally is the final stanza of the poem. Now we shall focus on the second stanza. But if it had to perish twice. Now the poet thinks of a possibility. What is the possibility? That is the human beings fighting for material objects like fame and fortune and other things have fought with one another. The lion's share or the majority of them have been killed. A limited number of people are alive. They have succeeded in killing their opponents. So the world is yet to be devoid of human beings, or rather we can say that human beings are not extinct as yet. So there is another onslaught which is yet to come and which is needed to make the world completely free from human beings. That's why the poet uses the first line of the second stanza. He tells that those who are alive, they will have to be killed, so that we can say that the world has been destroyed. How will those human beings be killed? The poet says, I think enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice. Now in the second line of the stanza, the poet has referred to hate. Now we have got the symbolic meaning of the word ice. The word ice symbolizes hate. What does the word hate means? Hate means absence of fellow feeling, absence of love, absence of sympathy, absence of humanism. Now, we shall focus on this symbolic meaning of the word hate, or rather ice, which stands for hate. How does the poet associate ice with hate? We know that ice is extremely cold, related to, or if we think of human conduct with another human being, or rather the attitude of a human being to another human being, we can say that there is no warmth left between them. That is, there is a feeling of coldness in the attitude of a person for the other person. So, this coldness of attitude is represented by the word hate. Now, the cold nature of ice here stands for the cold nature of human behavior, human feeling. So, we have seen that the desire for human beings has killed, has destroyed the lion's share of human beings living in the world. There are limited persons left. They are the champions in particular segments of material life. For example, one is a world famous person. The another person is the richest person in the world. The other persons are champions in other fields of material life. Now, after they have overcome the feeling of triumph, they will think that no, I have fame, but I do not have fortune. That person who has fortune to the extreme will think that I am the richest man in the world, but I do not have the fame or popularity of that person. That's why they will begin to hate one another. So, what will be the effect of that feeling of hate? If they begin to hate one another, they will lead a kind of life which will be devoid of the joy of living. This kind of life is synonymous to death. But it may be that the feeling of hate is so much dominant in them that they become engaged in fighting with one another. So they are sure to be killed in the process, and the world will become extinct of human beings. That's why the poet says, to say that for destruction, ice is also great. That is, ice is also potent enough to cause the destruction of the world, both literally and metaphorically. And would suffice means it would become sufficient to kill the rest of the human beings alive after they have killed their opponents in their desire for obtaining material objects. So, the title made us curious, and the poem has satiated our curiosity. Most importantly, the poem has told us about the very nature of human beings. Human beings are possessive. What do they want to possess? Material objects. And when they have got a part of these material objects, they hanker after another. That is what I have told. A person who has money hankers after popularity. a person who has popularity hankers after money, but one cannot possess everything. That's why they become subjects of hate, and this hate either takes away the joy of living from them or make them an opposition of one another and kill them in the process as they become engaged in fighting. So human beings are jealous, human beings are possessive. So very cleverly the poet has explored the nature of human mind. So this is all what I have to say about the poem itself. Now we shall listen to an important declaration. In the description of this video presentation, you will find a link. By clicking on the link, you will be able to go to my blog or website where you will be able to view exhaustive study materials on the poem itself. Now, the study material will cover the life of the poet, the literary works of the poet, an introduction to the poem, the necessary word notes of the poem, the paraphrase of the poem. You will find the MCQ type questions from the poem, the extract based questions from the poem, the short questions from the poem, the long answer type questions from the poem, the value based question. You will find the solved part of the textbook exercise. You will also find the rhetorical devices used in the poem. So all those things are there to help you for your preparation for the examination. Now, before I conclude, I request you to subscribe my channel, to share my video presentations to your friends, to put forward your comment and your queries. I thank you all. See you again in my next video presentation. Thank you.